Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at the True Trojans by Jasper Fisher, being a story of the Britons' valour at the Romans' first invasion, publicly represented by the gentlemen students of Magdalen College in Oxford. It's printed in 1633. It existed sometime prior to that. I don't have a more firm date on that, maybe in the 1620s, but it could even exist in a slightly more weird earlier way. Before that, it's quite a crowded play. We don't technically really have enough people to read it, but we're going to have a go anyway because it's fun. It's that's what we do. So, and I should also point out there's an awful lot of silly names. So, I don't know how to pronounce them. We just went through them now, and I got them wrong every single time. So, we'll see how that goes when we go. But reading today, Mercury, Cassibelanus, one of the choruses, number 4, and Lantonus, except in one scene, is.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm really hoping that I've forgotten all of Caesar's Gallic wars.
Reading Caesar, Bellinus, Eulinus, and one of the chorus is.
Hello, I'm Steve Longstaff. I'm hot, but not in the way I'd like.
Reading Nennius, Tenantius, Rollano, and Cridous, or something like that, is.
My name is Angela from London. This is the last time I'm going to be able to pronounce a name.
Reading Comius, Androgeus, Britael, and Hulacus is.
Rachael Nicole, actor on the East Coast.
Reading Camillus, Laberius, Hiraldas, Guerthed, and Lantonus for one scene only is.
Liza Graham, actor, singer, whatever else in London.
Reading Brennus, Volusene, and Hulacus. I'm going to go with hula because I like the sound of the word hula, even though I'm fairly certain that's not how you're supposed to say it. Reading those parts is.
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm Brennus? Is that relevant to Brennus? I don't know anymore.
Who knows? I am your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions, generally moving us forward. We've got a lot of text to get through today, so we're going to have no pause at all before we go straight into the opening of the play, some sort of prologue type thing. Mercury, conducting the ghosts of Brennus and Camillus in complete armour and with swords drawn.
As in the vaults of this big-bellied earth are dungeons, whips and flames for wicked ghosts. So fair Elysian fields, where spotless souls do bathe themselves in bliss. Amongst the rest, 2 pleasant groves by 2 sorts are possessed. One by true lovers crowned with myrtle boughs, who hand in hand sing paeans of their joy. Brave soldiers hold the second, clad in steel, whose glittering arms brighten those gloomy shades in lieu of starry lights. From hence I bring a pair of martial imps, by Jove's decree, as sticklers in their nation's enmity. Furious Camillus, and thou, Britain bold, great Brennus, sheathe your conquering blades. In vain you threaten death, for ghosts may not be slain.
From the unbounded ocean and cold climes, where Charles his wane circles the northern pole, I first led our great swarms of shaggy Gauls and big-boned Britons. The white-pated Alps, where snow and winter dwell, did bow their necks to our victorious feet. Rome, proudest Rome, we clothed in scarlet of patrician blood, and bout your capital pranced our vaunting steeds, defeated more by geese than by your gods.
But I cut short your fury, and my sword redeemed the city, making your huge trunks to fat our crows and dung our Latian fields. I turned your torrent to another coast, and what you quickly won, you quickly lost.
Oh, leave these weak brawlings. Now swift time have spent a Pylian age and more since you two breathed, mirrors of Britain and of Roman valour. Lo now the black imperial bird doth clasp under her wings the continent, and Mars, trampling down nations with his brazen wheels, fights for his nephews, and have once more made Britons and Romans meet. To view these deeds, I, Hermes, bring you to this upper sky, where you may wander, and with ghastly looks incite your countrymen when night and sleep conquer the eyes. When weary bodies rest and senses cease, be furies in their breast. Never two nations better matched, for Jove loves both alike. Whence then these armed bands? Navals for Rome, Neptune for Albion stands.
Then let war ope his jaws as wide as hell, and fright young babes. My country folk more stern can outlook Gorgon. Let the fates transposed hang beaten flags up in the victor's land. Full dearly will each pace of ground be sold, which rated it is at dearest blood, not gold. What? Are there ruined fanes, demolished walls so soon forgot? Doth Alia yet run clear, or can 300 summers shake their fear?
Arise, thou Julian star, whose angry beams be heralds to the north of war and death. Let those black calends be revenged, those ghosts whose mangled sheaths, deprived of funeral rites, made the 6 hills promise a Cadmus crop, be expiated with a fiery deluge. Jove rules the spheres, Rome all the world beside. And shall this little corner be denied?
Bandy no more these private frowns, but haste, fly to your parties and enrage their minds. Till at the period of these broils I call, and back reduce you to grim Pluto's hall.
And exit Mercury and Co. Act 1, Scene 1. Duke Nennius alone.
Methinks I hear Bellona's dreadful voice redoubled from the concave shores of Gaul. Methinks I hear their neighing steeds, the groans of complemental souls taking their leave, and all the dim and clamorous root which sounds when falling kingdoms crack in fatal flames. Die, Belgics! Die like men! Free minds need have naught but the ground they fight on for their grave, and we are next. Think ye the smoky mist of sun-boiled seas can stop the eagle's eye? Or can our watery walls keep dangers out, which fly aloft that thus we snorting lie, feeling impostumed humours to be lanced by some outlandish surgeon? As they are now, whose flaming towns like beacons give us fair warning, and e'en gild our spires, whilst merrily we warm us at their fires. Yet we are next, who charmed with peace and sloth dream golden dreams. Go, warlike Britain, go, for olive bough exchange thy hazel bough. Hang up thy rusty helmet, that the bee may have a hive, or spider find a loom, instead of soldiers fair and lodging hard, the bare ground being their bed and table, lie smothered in down, melting in luxury. Instead of bellowing drum and cheerful flute, be lulled in lady's lap with amorous lute. But as for Nennius, no, I scorn this calm. The ruddy planet at my birth bore sway, sanguine, adjust my humour, and wildfire, my ruling element, blood and rage and choler make up the temper of a captain's valour.
Exit Nennius. Act 1, Scene 2. Julius Caesar, Comius, Volusenus, Laberius, soldiers with ensign, a two-necked eagle, displayed sable, drum, ancient trumpet, a flourish.
Welcome, thus far, partners of weal and woe. Welcome, brave bloods. Now may our weapons sleep, since Ariovist in cockboat basely flies. Vast Germany stands trembling at our bridge, and Gaul lies bleeding in her mother's lap. Once the Pelian Duke did eastward march to rouse the drowsy sun before he rose, adorned with Indian rubies. But the main bade him retire. He was my type. This day we stand on nature's western brink, beyond nothing but sea and sky. Here is nil ultra. Democritus, make good thy fancy. Give me more worlds to conquer, which may be both seen and won together. But methinks I ken a whitish cloud kissing the waves, or else some chalky rocks surmount the barking flood. Comius, your knowledge can correct our eyes.
It is the Britael shore, which 10 leagues hence displays her shining cliffs unto your sight.
I'll hit the white. That sea mark for our ships invites destruction, and gives to our eye a treacherous beck. Dare but resist, your shore shall paint her pale face with red, crimson gore.
Thus much I know, great Caesar, that they lent their secret aid unto the neighbor Gauls, fostering their fugitives with friendly care, which made your victory fly with slower wing.
That's cause enough. They shall not henceforth range abroad for war. We'll bring him to their doors. His ugly idol shall displace their gods, their dear penates, and in desolate streets raise trophies high of barbarous bones, whose stench may poison all the rest. I long to stride this Hellespont, or Bridget with a navy, disclosing to our empire unknown lands, until the Arctic star for zenith stands.
Then raise the camp and strike a dreadful march, and unawares pour vengeance on their heads. Be like the winged bolt of angry Jove, or chiding torrent whose late risen stream from mountain's bended top runs raging down, deflowering all the virgin dales.
First, let's advise, for soon to ruin come rash weapons, which lack counsel grave at home.
What need consulting where the cause is plain?
The likeliest cause without regard proves vain.
Provide for battle, but of truce no word.
Where peace is first refused should come the sword.
But 'tis unlike their self-presuming might will curbed be with terms of civil right.
'Tis true. Yet so we stop the people's cry when we propose and they do peace deny. We'll therefore wise ambassadors dispatch, parents of love, the harbingers of league, and that may speak with mildness mixed with courage. Having quick feet, broad eyes, short tongues, long ears, to warn the British court, and further view the ports, fathom the seas, learn their complotments, where invasion may be soonest entertained. All this shall lie on Volusene, a legate, a spy.
My care and quickness shall deserve this kindness. Meantime, unite and range your scattered troops. Embark your legions at the Achaean shore, and teach Erinus swim which crawled before.
And exeunt. Act 1, Scene 3, Cassibelanus, Androgeus, Tenantius, Bellinus, and attendants as we go to the other camp.
Although the people's voice constrains me hold, this regal staff whose massy weight would bruise your age and pleasures. Yet this, nephews, know your trouble less, your honour is the same, as if you were as if you wore the diadem of this isle. Meanwhile, Androgeus, hold on to your use, our lady city, Trovnovant, and all the toll and tribute of delicious Kent, of which each quarter can maintain a king. Have you, Tenantius, Cornwall's dukedom large, both rich and strong in metals and in men? I must to Verulam's fence it down repair, and as protector for the whole take care.
My heart agreed. Henceforth, ye sovereign cares, state mysteries, false graces, jealous fears, the linings of a crown, forsake my brain. These territories neither are too wide to trouble my content, nor yet too narrow to feed a princely train.
All thanks I render, your will shall guide ours. With treble-twisted love we'll strive to make one soul inform 3 bodies, keeping still the same affections, both in good and ill. Now am I for a hunting match. Yon thickets shelter a boar, which spoils the ploughman's hope, whose jaws with double sword, whose back is armed with brittle spikes, whose fume inflames the air and foam besnows the trampled corn. This beast I long to see come smoking to a feast.
Enter Tenantius, exit Tenantius rather. Enter, luckily, Rollano.
Here comes my Belgic friend, Landorus' servant. What news, Rollano, that thy feet so strive to have precedence of each other? Speak. I read disturbed passions on thy brow.
My trembling heart quivers upon my tongue, that scarce I can with broken sounds vent forth these strange, sad, sudden, dreary, dismal news. A merchant ship arrived, tells how the Roman, having run Gaul quite through with bloody arms, prepares for you. His navy, rigged in bay, only expects a gale. Farther, they say, a pinnace landed from him brings command either to lose your freedom or your land.
And dares proud Caesar back our untamed surges? Dreads he not our sea monsters, whose wild shapes their theatres ne'er yet in picture saw? Come, sirs, to arms, to arms! Let speedy posts summon our petty kings, and muster up our valorous nations from the north and west. Androgeus, haste you to the Scots and Picts, 2 names which now Albania's kingdoms share. Entreat their aid, if not for love, yet fear. For new foes should imprint swift equal fear through all the arteries of this our isle. Bellinus, thy authority must rouse the vulgar troops within thy special charge. Fire all the beacons, strike alarms loud. Raise all the country against this common foe. We'll soon confront him in his full career. This news more moves my choler than my fear.
And exeunt, leaving Rollano alone.
I am by birth a Belgic, whence I fled to Germany for fear of Roman arms. But when their bridge bridled, that's the stately Rhine, I soon returned, and thought to hide my head in this soft halcyon's nest, this Britain isle. And now, behold, Mars is a-nursing here, and gins to speak loud. Is no nook safe from Rome? Do they still haunt me? Some peaceful god transport me through the air, beyond cold Thule or the sun's bedchamber, where only swine or goats do live and reign. Yet these may fight. Place me where quiet peace hushes all storms, where sleep and silence dwell, where never man nor beast did wrong the soil, or crop the first fruits, or made so much noise as with their breath. But foolish thoughts, adieu. Now catch I must, or stand, or fall with you.
And exit. Quite a problem for the little grey cells, this. What do you do when the Roman army just keeps on advancing towards you? There's nowhere safe. That's rollicked along rather well, I have to say. I mean, it's very purple. It is really in love with its own voice. But I have to say, I did rather enjoy that. Yeah, we got the two camps set out quite nicely. We're given a sort of this opening ghostly figures who, leave it out. Two Mercury standing between them. Yeah, we get lots of nice little bits of context. It's quite nicely explicated. Yeah, thoughts from the room. Where are you with this warlike mission, Angela?
Because I've had to do two speeches from completely diametrically opposed types of character. I think the characterization is actually quite good. It's like really coming over all the different characters. That seems to be working really well.
Always nice to have a call out for Troy Navant there, or London as it's later renamed, because of course this is all absolutely accurate history. Though reasonable chunks of this do seem to not be not inaccurate, shall we say. It does feel like every so often someone's throwing in a little thing of just going, Scots and Picts, just name check there. Yeah, other thoughts from the room? This framing device that we've got at the top, it feels that feels very old school. It's going back to Spanish tragedy, Mirror for Magistrates. It's as a device, and obviously much earlier than that, but in terms of English literature anyway. Yeah, all sorts of interesting things. Rachael.
The description, like I know in some other plays they go into description a lot of these, things. For this one, it feels a little sometimes that some stuff gets lost, at least on this at first glance. In this first look stage, that it's easy to lose the thread of what they're talking about. For me, at least. Yeah.
Oh no! Well, yeah. Anyone else in terms of how it's explicating? Liza.
Yeah, I mean, it is an Oxford play, so it does vanish up its own butt a little bit, but nowhere near as much as some other plays we've read. And I agree with Robert that although the writing is a little bit purple, it is quite tight. And I say this as someone who's reading Tancred and Gismund on Thursday. So, at least they only take 20 lines to say how they feel as opposed to 50. Yeah, I mean, I do like the setup with the ghosts. We've got, I think that would, if it were on a stage, it would be quite clear. We've got Hermes, winged helmet, Caduceus, sandals. We've got a Roman ghost and a British ghost. Brennus actually conquered Rome. He and Camillus is like, yeah, but after you sacked Rome, we kicked you out, didn't we? And he's like, yeah, you did. So rematch. Who knows why they didn't do it with Claudius and because that was afterwards. Okay, no one should ever listen to me. Who's next?
Yeah, thinking loud is fine. We get there. But yeah, it's that set up as a visual thing. Is really cool. Rachael.
Yeah, this might also be part of my thing with it is that when we have these more historical ones, that I just really don't know the history, and that also I get lost in that part of it. So that might be working into it for me, and the text might work fine for everybody else and just be that type of thing.
Well, the geography is fairly tight. We've got Caesar's working his way through France and Belgium, and is thinking of crossing over the seas. And there's lots of nice little details in there. I like the way that Cassibelanus is discussing his kingdom, and I'm king, but you're all important too. You can have delicious Kent. I find that a fun description. This is a country that's we're cool. We have a good life. We don't need the Romans coming over here with their sanitation. Anyway, Stephen.
I'm a bit hazy on this, but there is a sort of extended Caesar universe as well, isn't there, in early modern stories? And I'm wondering about this being an educational establishment. If I remember right, Caesar's wars in Gaul was a big part of the kind of curriculum for learning Latin, so that people would have been familiar with him. I don't even know if Caesar wrote that. I can't be bothered to check, but Caesar's Gallic Wars. So there's this kind of weird sense, and they've come across him in another setting, and if they are familiar with the subjugation of Gaul or whatever, then this really is a kind of sequel. It is that kind of bizarre extended universe with everything linking up.
I like the description as well that we have sea monsters in the channel. Here be dragons, or in real terms, we have tides. And the kind of things, the kind of problems you don't have on the Mediterranean. So Caesar might run into some problems here because of our natural forces.
I wonder if they had a map, a manuscript map or some such. I wonder if it's actually a sort of picture that people would have been familiar with in some way or another. Because they did used to decorate maps with all kinds of stuff, didn't they?
So, sadly, we need to move on at this point. We're a few scenes into Act 1. We have more stuff to come, more characters. We have a couple of people we've not met before. So, let us Act 1, Scene 4, Eulinus and Hiraldas.
The court a wardrobe is of living shapes, and ladies are the tissue-spangled suits which nature wears on festival high days. The court, a spring, each madam is a rose. The court is heaven, fair ladies are the stars.
Aye, falling stars.
A false echo. Don't blaspheme that glorious sex, whose beauteous rays can strike rash gazers blind.
Love should be blind.
Pray leave this cynic humour, whilst I sigh my mistress' praise. Her beauties past compare. Oh, would she were more kind, or not so fair. Her modest smiles both curb and kindle love. The court is dark without her. When she rises, the morning is her handmaid, strewing roses about love's hemisphere. The lamps above eclipse themselves for shame to see her eyes, outshine their chrysolites, and more bless the skies than they the earth.
Give me her name.
Her body is a crystal cage, whose pure transparent mould, not of gross elements compacted, but the extracted quintessence of sweetest forms distilled, whose graces bright do live immured, but not exempt from sight.
I prithee, speak her name.
Her model is beyond all poets' brains and painters' pencils. All the lively nymphs, sirens, and dryads are but kitchen maids, if you compare, to frame the like Pandora. The gods repine, and nature would grow poor.
By love, who is? Hath she no mortal name?
For here you find great Juno's stately front, Pallas' grey eye, Venus her dimpled chin, Aurora's rosy fingers, the small waist of Ceres' daughter, and Medusa's hair before it hissed.
Oh, love as deaf as thou art blind, good Eulenus, call home thy soul, and tell thy mistress' name.
Strange, but ignorant still, when as so plainly these attributes describe. Ah, why, she is a rhapsody of goddesses, the elixir of all their several perfections. She is, now bless your ears, by mortals called Landora.
What, Landora, the Trinobantic lady? How grow your hopes? What metal is her breast?
Oh, steel and adamant, 'tis beauty's pride to stain her lily white with blood of lovers slain. Their groans make music, and their scalding sighs raise a perfume, and vulture-like she gnaws their bleeding hearts. No gifts, no learned flattery, no stratagems can work Landora's battery. As a tall rock maintains majestic state, though Boreas gallop on the tottering seas, and tilting split his froth out, spurging waves upon his surly breast, so she resists. And all my projects on her cruel heart are but retorted to their author's smart.
Why then let scorn succeed thy love, and bravely conquer thyself, if thou wilt conquer her. Stomachs with kindness cloyed disdain must stir.
Impious thoughts! Rather let me perish, and loving die, than living cease to love. And when I faint, let her but hear my cry. Ah me, there's none which truly loves, but I.
O ye cross darts of Cupid, this very lady, this lady wasp, woos me, as thou dost her, with glances, jewels, bracelets of her hair, lascivious banquets, and most eloquent eyes, all which my heart misconstrues as immodest, it being pointed for another pole. But hence, learn courage, cuz why stand you dumb? Women are women, and may be o'ercome.
Your words are earwigs to my vexed brain, like henbane juice or aconite diffused. They strike me senseless. My kinsman and Hiraldas, to my end, but I'll ne'er call you counsellor or friend. Adieu.
Stay, stay, for now I mean with gentler breath to waft you to your happy landing place. Seeing this crocodile pursues me flying, flies you pursuing, will catch her by a trick. With promise feigned, I'll point a Cupid's stage, but in the night, and secret and disguised, where thou, which art myself, shalt act my part. In Venus' games all cousining goes for art.
Blessed be these means, and happy the success. Now can I rear my crest above the moon, and in these gilded books read lectures of the feminine sex. There moves Cassiope, whose garments shine with 13 precious stones, types of as many virtues. Then her daughter, whose beauty without Perseus would have tamed the monstrous fish, glides with a starry crown. Then just Astraea comes her golden hair, and my Landora can become the skies as well as they. Oh, how my joys do swell! He mounted not more proud, whose burning throne kindled the cedar tops and quaffed whole fountains. Fly then, ye winged hours, as swift as thought or my desires. Let day's bright wagoner fall headlong and lie buried in the deep, and dormouse-like outside his night outsleep. Good Tethys, quench his beams that he ne'er rise to scorch the moors, to suck up honeydews, or to betray my person. But prithee, tell what mistress you adore.
The kind Cordelia, loving and beloved. Only some jar of late about a favour made me inveigh 'gainst women. Come away. Our plots desire the night, not babbling day.
We must give way. Here come our brethren bards, to sing in synod, as their custom is, with former chants comparing present deeds.
They exit Act 1, Scene 5. We have a chorus of 5 bards laureate. There's 4 voices and a harper attired, as one hopes. Though I've got 6 voices, so I don't know how that works. Anyway, you don't have to sing, but for the first song is split amongst you. I'll read the all if you read the verses otherwise.
At the spring birds do sing, now with high, then low cry, flat, acute, and salute the sun born every morn.
He's no bard that cannot sing the praises of the flowery spring.
Flora queen, all in green, doth delight to paint light, and to spread cruel bread with the blue colour true.
He's no bard that cannot sing the praises of the flowery spring.
Woods renew, hunters hue, shepherd's grey, crowned with bay, with his pipe that care doth wipe, till he dream by the stream.
He's no bard that cannot sing the praises of the flowery spring.
Faithful loves, turtle doves, sit and bill on a hill. Country swains on the plains run and leap, turn and skip.
He's no bard that cannot sing the praises of the flowery spring.
Pan doth play caraway, very small, 2 foot tall, with caps red on their head, dance around on the ground.
He's no bard that cannot sing the praises of the flowery spring.
A fill is bright, a clothed in white, a with neck fair and a yellow hair. A rocks doth move with a love and a make mild tigers wild.
He's no bard that cannot sing the praises of the flowery spring. There's a second song that doesn't seem to be broken up, and Liza will sing that. We'll say it.
Thus spend we time in laughter, while peace and spring do smile. But I hear a sound of slaughter draw nearer to our isle. Leave then your wonted prattle, the oaten reed forbear, for I hear a sound of battle, and trumpets tear the air. Let bagpipes die for want of wind, let crowd and harp be dumb. Let little tabor come behind, for I hear the dreadful drum. Let no birds sing, no lambkins dance, no fountains murmuring go. Let shepherd's crook be made a lance, for the martial horns do blow.
Excellent. Okay, we went from what was a fairly straightforward narrative that had drive and purpose, and then it just went WTF. We get this sort of rather random scene of I'm in love with someone, stuff, and then these songs which are interesting. I'm slightly thrown. I mean, I'm sort of still enjoying it. It's still quite pleasant, but it does feel like suddenly just went, and now we're just going to stop the drama and just have a little music. I don't know if it has any meaningful thematic or connection with anything that went before, but there you go. I'll go to Rachael, then Eric.
I think this has a super Monty Python vibe to it. Now hindsight back on the first scene, Caesar asking about the tides. It could be like a joke, like all these people could be a joke, and it could be one of those things where sometimes somebody passing by, they just decide to keep on with that person and then they get back to the main plot eventually.
Eric.
See, I was gonna say something a bit more sophisticated, but I don't know if it fits here. I like sort of because we basically get the whole like what do you call it? Not the class system, but like the hierarchy of society. You've got like the generals who are basically starting the war. You've got the sort of, the lovers who don't really care about war and obviously are going to be sort of more courtier type people, basically, who don't really care for war because it's going to cramp their style. And then you've got the sort of chorus/bards who are kind of fun-loving / Parnassus living muse type people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting tonal shift. Until we sort of get a little further into text, I don't know how well it all hangs together. Liza.
Well, a couple of things. I think now that we have, we had a very martial prologue, and then we had the establishment of an invasion. We have, and I think the next couple of scenes, the pastoral scenes, are meant to show that before those nasty Romans invaded, Britain was having a golden age, and everyone was very innocent, and they were very happy, and there were fairies, and there were bards, and there were like harpers. So these are in some ways visual tableaus, but also this play comes from Magdalen College, Oxford. And Magdalen, then as now, was a big choir college. So they had, they have not only choir boys, but adult men who sing as well. So the bard scene is going to make use of all the musicians from around the college. And I'm guessing, without having read ahead, I'm guessing there are probably going to be more bards at some point.
I think we can safely say at the end of each act we're going to get a musical interlude. So, which if it's an indoor performance, is structurally necessary to get through the event. Any other thoughts about that, Angela?
I do think, to be fair, it's very well structured. I mean, we started off by saying there were two parts to Heaven. They're the lovers and the warriors. And now here we're getting it in the play. And this song does make a bridge between lovey-dovey, and it ends up saying, but I hear the sounds of war, so it's doing a reasonable job.
The absence of music does make it harder to assess it, and it only takes us to be a little bit silly to change the effect. Potentially.
These are college students we're talking about. I'm guessing silliness was not a million miles from their performance either.
It's difficult to tell. Sometimes people get really earnest in that kind of environment. If they're going for serious, then it can get very intense.
There's always at least one person, possibly two, who overact chronically, and I think the two lovesick shepherds are probably where you put those guys.
Yeah, but
Also, we've got another ancient British trope, which is warlike women. The Landora seems to be quite a badass, and I feel kind of bad for her with this trick they're planning to pull. That's not nice, guys.
Yeah, let's see what that. Hopefully that will be fine, and that won't be problematic. Okay, we'll move on to Act 2. Act 2, Scene 1. We're back with the Britons, Cassibelanus, Cridous, Britael, Guerthed, Nennius, Bellinus, Hulacus, Volusene, everybody on that side in the scene.
Heavens favour Cridous, fair our bard as king, and Britael decked with the Domitian crown, the same to famous Guerthed, whose command embraces woody Ordovic's black hills. Legate, you may your message now declare.
What was the message? By me, great Caesar greets the Britain state. This letter speaks the rest.
Then read the rest.
Caesar, proconsul of Gallia, to Cassibelanus, king of Britain. Since Romulus' race, by will of Jove, have stretched their empire wide from Danube's banks, by Tigris swift, unto Mount Atlas' side, and provinces and nations strong with homage do you obey. We wish that you, hid in the sea, do likewise tribute pay, submitting all unto our wills for rashly aiding Gaul, and noble lads for hostages make ready at our call. These granted may our friendship gain, denied shall work your woe. Now take your choice, whether you'd find Rome as a friend or foe.
Bold mandates are unwelcome to free princes. Legate, withdraw. You shall be soon dispatched.
Exit the legate.
He writes more like a victor than a foe, whose greatness, risen from subdued nations, is fastened only with fear's slippery knot. Nor can they fight so fierce for wealth or fame as we for native liberty. With answer rough, bid him defiance, so thinks Cridous.
Guerthed maintains the same, and on their flesh I'll write my answer in red characters.
Thou ravenous wolf, imperious monster Rome, seven-headed Hydra, no, we scorn thy threats. We can oppose thy hills with mounts as high, and scourge usurpers with like cruelty. And thus thinks Britael.
And that's Stephen.
Sorry.
They're all talking bad things about Caesar, and it's
I'm sure one of my advisors is supposed to be speaking.
Sorry, yeah. Let Caesar come. Our land doth rust with ease, and wants an object, whose resisting power may strike out valorous flashes from her veins. So shadows give a picture life, so flames grow brighter by a fanning blast. Nor think I am a courtier and no warrior born, nor love object, for well my poet says, militat omnis amans. Each lover is a soldier. I can join Cupid's bow and Mars's lance. A pewter coat fits me as well as silk. It grieves me to see our martial spirits trace the idle streets, while weapons by their side dangle and lash their backs, as 'twere to upbraid their needless use. Nor is it glory small they set upon us last, when their proud arms fathom the land and seas and reach both poles. On then, so great a foe, so good a cause, shall make our name more famous. So thinks Ulysses.
Then, friends and princes, on this blade take oath. First to your country to revenge her wrongs, and next to me as general to be led with unity and courage.
They kiss the sword, saying all together now.
The gods bless Britain.
And Cassibelanus.
Plain. Now, royal friends, the heirs of mighty Brutae, you see what storm hangs hovering o'er this land, ready to pour down cataclysms of blood. Let ancient glory then inflame your hearts. Beyond the craggy hills of grim-faced death, bright honour keeps triumphant court, and deeds of martial men live there in marble rolls. Death is but Charon to the fortunate isles, porter to fame. What though the Roman, armed with foreign spoil, behind him lead the conquered world, and hope to sink our island with his army's weight? Yet we have gods and men and horse to fight, and we can bravely die. But our just cause, your forward loves, and all our people, edged with Dardan's spirit and the powerful name of country, bid us hope for victory. We have a world within ourselves, whose breast no foreigner hath unrevenged pressed these 1,000 years. The Rhine and Rome can serve, and envy Thames his never captive stream. Yet maugre all if we ourselves are true, we may despise what all the earth can do.
Let's then dismiss the legate with a frown, and draw our forces toward the sea to join with the 4 kings of Kent, and so affront his first arrival. But before all, let our priests and druids in their hallowed groves propitiate the gods and scan events by their mysterious arts.
Exeunt. Act 2, Scene 2, Uranus, Hiraldas, and Rollano. Rollano, sorry.
Well, so. Your tongue's your own, though drunk or angry.
And seals the mouth of Rollano, who makes a noise.
What's a noise?
Speak not a word, upon your life be dumb.
Gives him money.
I'll winch up thy estate, be Harpocrates. Thy fortunes shall be double gilt, be midnight. An excellent instrument to be the bawd to his dear lady. But Rollano, hark. What words, what looks did give my letter welcome? Nay, now thy silence is antedated. Speak. I give thee leave. I say, speak. Be not foolish.
Then, with your leave, she used upon receipt no words, but silent joy purpled her face, and seeing your name, straight clapped it to her heart, to print there a new copy, as she'd say. The words went by her eyes too long away.
You told her my conditions and my oath of silence, and that only you be used.
All, sir.
And that this night
Aye, sir.
you guard the door.
Aye, sir.
But I ne'er mean to come.
No, sir. Oh, wretch! Shall I deceive when she remains so true?
No, thou shalt be true, and she remain deceived. I'll lie, and yet I will not lie. My friend, Uranus, in my shape, shall climb her bed. This is the point. You'll promise all your aid.
Your servant to command, and then reward.
We'll draw thee meteor-like by our warm favour unto the roof and ceiling of the court. We'll raise thee, hold but fast, on fortune's ladder.
And exit Rollano.
This fellow was a medley of most lewd and vicious qualities, a braggart, yet a coward, a knave, and yet a slave, true to all villainy, but false to goodness. Yet now I love him, because he stands just in the way of love. And I just said Uranus line, didn't I? That was pretty typically a Hiraldas move. Sorry.
Carry on.
Yeah, you've stolen the lines now. Just move on to the part you're supposed to be reading.
I apologize very much. 'Cause I commend you to the Cyprian queen, whilst I attend Diana in the forest. My kinsman, Mandrace, and I must try our greyhound speed after a lightfoot hare.
And exit Hiraldas. Uranus gets to say their dialogue.
Oh, love, whose nerves unite in equal bonds this massy frame, thou cement of the world, by which the orbs and elements agree, by which all living things joy to be, and dying live in their posterity. Thy holy raptures warm each noble breast, sweetly inspiring more soul. Thy delight surpasses melody, nectar, and all pleasures of Tempe, and of Tempe's eldest sister, Elysium, a banquet of all the senses. By thy commanding power, gods into beasts, and men to gods are changed, as poets say, when sympathy rules, or like what they obey. But love triumphs when man and woman meet in full affection. Double vows then fill his sacred shrine. Yet this to me denied more whets my passion. Mutual love grows cold. O Venus, be thou propitious to my wiles, and laugh at lovers' perjuries and guiles.
And exit. Act 2, Scene 3. Lantonus, Hulacus, 2 druids in long robes, hats like pyramids, branches of mistletoe.
That souls immortal are, I easily grant. Their future states distinguished, joy or pain, according to the merits of this life. But then I rather think, being free from prison and bodily contagion, they subsist in places fit for immaterial spirits. Are not transfused from men to beasts, from beasts to men again, wheeled round about by change.
And were it not more cruel to turn out poor naked souls stripped of warm flesh like landlords, bidding them wonder? Then, forsooth, imagine some unknown cave or coast, whither all the myriads of souls deceased are shipped and thrust together. Hey, reason rather says, as at one moment some die and some are born, so may their ghosts without more cost serve the succeeding age. For sure they don't wear to be cast aside, but enter straight less or more noble bodies, according to deserts of former deeds, the valiant into lions, coward minds into weak hares, the ambitious into eagles, something soaring aloft, but the perverse and peevish are next indonized into wrinkled apes, each vice and virtue wearing seemly shapes.
So you debase the god's most lively image, the human soul, and rank it with mere brutes, whose life of reason void ends with their sense.
And enter Bellinus.
Hail to heaven's privy councillors. The king desires your judgment of these troublesome times.
The gods foretold these mischiefs long ago. In Eldel's reign, the earth and sky were filled with prodigies, strange sights, and hellish shapes. Sometimes two hosts with fiery lances met, armour and horse being heard amid the clouds. With streamers red now march these airy warriors, and then a sable or hearse cloth wraps up all, and bloody drops speckled the grass as falling from their deep wounded limbs. While staring comets shook their flaming hair, that all our wars were acted first on high, and we taught what to look for.
Carry on, Eric.
Nature turns stepdame to her brood, and dams deny their monstrous issue. Saturn, joined in dismal league with Mars, portends some change. Late in a grove, by night, a voice was heard to cry aloud, "Take heed, more Trojans, come. What may be known or done, we'll search and help with all religious care."
The king and army do expect as much, that powers divine, perfumed with odours sweet and feasted with the fat of bulls and rams, be pleased to bless their plots.
All rites and orisons due shall be performed. Chiefly knight empress fourfold honour craves, mighty in heaven and hell, in woods and waves.
They exit. We now go back, Act 2, Scene 4, to the Roman side. Caesar, Volusenus, Laberius, and soldiers.
What land, what people, and what answer show?
We saw a paradise whose bosom teems with silver ore, whose seas are paved with pearl, the meadows richly spread with florist tapestry, the fields even wonder at their harvest loads. In crystal streams, the scaly nations play, fringed all along with trembling poplar trees. The sun, in summer, loath to leave their sight, forgets to sleep, and glancing makes no night. Then, for the men, their statures tall and big, with blue-stained skins and long, black, dangling hair, promise of barbarous fierceness. They scarce know, and much less fear our empire's might, but thus returned defiance. Cassibelanus, king of Britain, to Julius Caesar, proconsul of Gallia. Seeing your empire is great, why should it not suffice? To covet more and more is tyrant's usual guise. To lose what Jove you gave, you'd think it but unjust. You have your answer then, defend this isle we must, which from the world cut off and free from her first day, hath iron more for swords than gold for tributes pay. If amity and like fear succor to goal imparts, pardon for this small brook could not divide our hearts. We hope the gods will help, and fortune back our cause, who take arms but to keep our lives, our wives and laws. As you from Troy, so we our pedigree do claim. Why should the branches fight when as the roots the same? Despise us not because the sea and north us close, for who can no farther go and must turn upon their foes. Thus rudely we conclude, wage war or change your will, we hope to use a lance far better than a quill.
I grieve to draw my sword against the stock of thrice renowned Troy, but they are rude, and must be frighted ere we shall be friends. Then let's abroad, and hoisting sails convey 2 legions over. I long to view this unknown land, and all their fabulous rites, and gather margarites in my brazen cap. Nature nor fates can valorous virtue stop.
Now Caesar speaks like Caesar. Stronger and stronger, rise like a whirlwind, tear the mountain's pride. Shake thy brass harness, whose loud clattering may waken Gradivus when he sleeps on top of Hemus, lulled with Boreas' roaring bass. Put to flight this nation with the noise. A fly is not an eagle's competent, nor may a pygmy with a giant strive.
And there we'll pause. We've got quite a lot to take in there. We've got the sort of continuing A plot has sort of picked up again. We've got these letters going back and forth between the two courts. Caesar has a sort of quite little dum line going on, whereas Cassibelanus writes quite a florid piece of work in response. That's got some nice little lines in there. Some interesting bits and pieces. And yeah, there's a lot to ponder over that before we talk about the stuff that lives in the middle. Look at the druids; they have pyramid-shaped hats. That I don't remember that from the sources. We don't know very much about druids. Thoughts from the room? Who wants to sort of leap in on either the A plot or the B plot? Liza.
Okay, well, I have to draw your attention to the lines, to Julius Caesar's lines. I grieve to draw my sword against the stock of thrice renowned Troy, but they are rude. So, as you can see, very little has changed in Britain from then to now. Indeed, probably from antiquity.
He's only taking 2 legions, though. I don't think that. I think that might be a mistake.
Yeah, I don't fancy his chances, but he has got the whole rest of an empire to try and sway. So we've got a very clear sense of opposing teams. We've got the British team who are pondering deeply philosophical questions and also planning for war at the same time. And we've got the Roman team who are hanging about in boats and they're like, come on, I want to gather some seashells. Actually, marguerites are pearls, of course. Or possibly daisies. Both. I think the word can mean either, but I think he wants to gather some pearls.
I think that was. I think that is one of the stated attractions of Britain at the time. I seem to recall there's an element. I could be making that up, but
Yes.
Greg might know this.
Also, Caligula, it depends on how you translate the word, but he told his soldiers to collect seashells to show that he had won against Neptune. But that was when he was trying to attempt to invade Britain also.
Yeah, it didn't get anywhere near it. Near us.
No, he didn't. No.
No.
It was Claudius that got near it, but that's what he told his soldiers to do.
Yeah. Without diving too much into the actual history as opposed to what's going on in the play, Rachael.
Well, actually, I just wanted to know which Caesar this is. Is this
Julius.
Claudius that this is supposed to be? Julius? Okay.
First time round. Julius Caesar does the first invasion. He doesn't hang around long. It's sort of, spoilers here. He does win, but, he doesn't really achieve very much. It's sort of just... it all sort of returns to normal. It's not till Claudius that you get the pucker settlement invasion going on. We've also got this B plot progressing here with this bed trick being planned. Not a desperately fun plan from the chaps there. What is it about today? For this kind of action, following on from this afternoon, it's feeling a bit much. Any other thoughts?
It's a bit weird having somebody in the sort of Britain war plot and in the love plot as well. That feels a bit peculiar to me. Unless there's a reason for it, but
it structurally it just felt like actually that first scene and the second scene effectively rolls into one another. This is they're getting ready to do the rites or whatever that they're planning on doing, and that while they're doing the setup for that they get on with the B plot. Because at least one of them was already sort of on stage in the previous scene. Maybe that's the best I can do there. You're right. It doesn't quite feel like they should be in the same room. Any more?
It is very expansive, isn't it? It's got. I know there's not many of us, but it does have this sort of cast of thousands feel to it. Now, I know history plays do have a lot of characters in them, but there's something about this. That we've been introduced. We feel like we've been introduced to about 20 of them in the first three scenes.
Yeah. Eric, you were waving. Sorry.
I just love the formalities that they do. The dear, from Cassibelanus, dear lovely Julius Caesar, you suck. We're gonna kick your ass out of Britain. Love and kisses. The Britons kind of thing. But I just love the line at the end. We hope to use a lance far better than a quill.
Yeah, because Caesar wrote them in this the letter from Caesar that gets read to Cassibelanus is in this very elegant, very terse tetrameter. It's like, we will come and kick your butt. Aren't you afraid of us? And then this one is much, much longer. It's in something like heptameter. We do not want our butts kicked today. Therefore, will you please go away? That's not a direct quote.
No, that's not straight from the text. But yeah, the choice of verse forms, and in the first scene when the legate turns up and and he says, well, the letter speaks the rest, and you just then read it. which I really like. And I mean, yeah, that could go both ways. It could, because it's we're assuming by the way the play is framed that this is a very well-educated Briton, but it could also go, I can't read. You read it for me. That'd be lovely. But by the way, this letter reads. It seems that no, he's good at this. We do need to move on in a moment, but Eric.
I was going to say that there is something that sounds a bit like sort of not the Spanish tragedy, but the first part of Geronimo, where you've got like that sort of, yes, we can be friends, but we're going to fight now. Like sort of, when Volusene is describing all this thing of like, with blue stained skins and long black dangling hair, promise a barbarous fierceness. And like, kind of, it's almost like, daring him to challenge them kind of thing. I don't know, that's how I read it, but I don't know if that's just me.
No, I think that the Spanish tragedy parallel is interesting because the way the play opens, that it's that kind of blood and thunder quality that students really like and continue to like 20, 30, 40, 50 years later. It just doesn't end. The delightful sociopaths that they clearly are. Okay, we will move on. Act 2, Scene 5. We've just been with the Romans. We're back with the Britons again. Cassibelanus, Belinus, Comius following, and there are some attendants. Comius
Health and good fortune on.
Sorry, we've obviously got some lagging
Health
there.
and good fortune. Oh yeah, I am lagging terribly. Health and good fortune on Cassibelanus attend. My love to you and Britael waft me hither to make atonement, ere the Roman leader bring fire and spoil and ruin on your heads. No herb can ever grow where once he treads. Nothing withstands his force. Be not too hardy, but buy a friend with kindness, lest you buy his anger dearly.
Comius, speak no more. He knows our mind.
Oh, let not rage blind your judgment, but prevent with ease the hazard of a war. Of war, a word composed of 1,000 ills. Oh, be not cruel to yourselves. I'll undertake, without discredit to appease his wrath, if you'll cashier your soldiers and receive him like a guest, not like an enemy.
False-hearted Gaul! Darest thou persuade e'en me for to betray my people to the sword? Now, know I thou art sent for to solicit our princes to rebel, to learn our strength. Lay hands on him, a spy.
A spy!
A spy! Spy! Traitor and a spy!
Bye.
And they chain him.
Is this the guerdon of my loving care? You break the laws of nature, nations, friends, but look for due revenge at Caesar's hand.
Expect in prison thy revenge. Away with him.
Exit Comius.
Belinus, have you mustered up our forces?
Yes, if it please your highness.
And what are the particulars?
First, Cridous leads from the Albanian reign, where Grampius Ridge divides the smiling dales, 5,000 horse and 20,000 foot, 3,000 chariots manned. The brigands come, decked with blue painted shields, 12,000 strong. Under the conduct of Demetia's prince march twice 3,000, arms with pelts and glaives, whom the Silures flank, 8,000 stout, greedy of fight, born soldiers the first day, whose grey goose winged shafts ne'er flew in vain. Then Guerthed, mounted on a shag-hare steed, full 15,000 brings, both horse and foot, of desperate Ordovicians, whose use is to rush half naked on their foes, enraged with a rude noise of pipes. Your province, bounded with that boiling stream, where Sabrine, lovely damsel, lost her breath, and with curled-pated Humber, Neptune's heir, affords 8,000 cars, with hooks and sides, and 50,000 expert men of war, all brave Loegrans, armed with pike and spear, each nation being distinguished into troops with gaudy pennons flickering in the air. Besides these, Kent is up in arms to blunt the edge of their first furious shock.
We'll now invite them to a martial feast, carving with falchions and carousing health in their lives' moisture.
Enter Androgeus.
Well returned, Androgeus. Have you obtained, or is your suit denied?
Our message told unto the Scots, their king with willing sympathy levies a band, 10,000 footmen whose strange appetites murder and then devour, and dare gnaw and suck their enemies' bones. Conducted thence, we saw the Pictish court, and friendly entertained, receive 8,000, whose most ugly shapes, painted like bears and wolves, and brined tigers, may kill and stonify without all weapons. More aid they promise, if more need. These forces, led by Catalan, hither march with speed.
'Tis well our kings consent for common good. When all are joined, we shall outspread the hills, and soldiers, thicker than the sand on shore, hide all the landing coasts. Ere next daybreak, the rocks shall answer what the drum doth speak.
And they exit Act 2, Scene 6. Hulacus, Lantonus, and ministers enter.
That ceremonious fear which bends the heart of mortal creatures and displays itself in outward signs of true obedience, as prayer, kneeling, sacrifice, and hymns, requires again help from immortal deities as promise, not as debt. We laud their names. They give us blessings and forgive our blames. Thus gods and men do barter. What in piety ascends as much descends again in pity. A golden chain reaching from heaven to earth.
And now's the time, good brother, of their aid, when danger's black face frowns upon our state. Away! Away, ye hearts and tongues profane! Without devotion, mysteries are vain.
They kneel, elevate hands thrice.
Draw near, ye heavenly powers who dwell in starry bowers, and ye who in the deep on mossy pillows sleep, and ye who keep the centre whenever light did enter, and ye whose habitations are still among the nations, to see and hear our doings, our births, our wars, our wooings. Behold our present grief. Belief doth beg relief.
By the vervain and lunary, by the frenzied planetary, by the dreadful mistletoe, which doth on holy oak grow. Draw near, draw near.
Yes, that was supposed to be both,
Yeah.
but well, one of you took the lead there. Hula,
Well, it says
continue.
going around, so I'm guessing it's like line by line or just both of them? I don't know.
Anyway, Hula, continue.
Help us, beset with danger, and turn away your anger. Help us, begirt with trouble, and now your mercy double. Help us, oppressed with sorrow, and fight for us tomorrow. Let fire consume the foeman, let air infect the Roman, let seas entomb their fury, let gaping earth them bury, let fire and air and water and earth conspire their slaughter.
By the vervain and lunary, by fern seed planetary, by the dreaded mistletoe, which doth on holy oak grow. Help us, help us, help us. We'll praise then your great power each month, each day, each hour, and blaze in lasting story your honor and your glory. High altars lost in vapor, young heifers free from labor, white lambs for suck still crying shall make your music dying. The boys and girls around with honeysuckles crowned, the bards with harp and rhyming, green bays their brows entwining, sweet tune and sweeter ditty shall chant your gracious pity.
By the vervain and lunary, by fern seed planetary, by the dreadful mistletoe which on holly oak which doth on holly oak grow, we'll praise, we'll praise, we'll praise.
The image of the moon, the shrine opens.
Fix, holy brother, now your prayers on one, Britain's chief patroness, with humble cry. Let us invoke the moon's bright majesty.
They kneel.
Thou queen of heaven, commandress of the deep, lady of lakes, regent of woods and deer, a lamp dispelling irksome night, the source of general moisture, at whose feet, with garments blue and rushy garlands dressed, wait 20,000 naiads. Thy crescent brute elephants adore, and man doth feel thy force run through the zodiac of his limbs. O thou, first guide of Brutus to this isle, drive back these proud usurpers from this isle, whether the name of Cynthia's silver globe, or chaste Diana with a gilded quiver, or dread Proserpina, stern Dis his spouse, or soft Lucina called in childbed throes, doth thee delight, rise with a glorious face, green drops of Nennius trickling down thy cheeks, and with bright horns united in full orb, toss high the seas, with billows beat the banks, conjure up Neptune and the Aeolian slaves, contract both night and winter in a storm that Romans lose their way, and sooner land at sad Avernus than at Albion stand. So mayst thou shun the dragon's head and tail, so may Endymion snort on Latmian bed, so may the fair game fall before thy bow. Shed light on us, but lightning on our foe.
Methinks a gracious lustre spreads her brow, and with a nod she ratifies our suit. Within, come near and take this oracle, and that was possibly off stage.
Yes, the within is within a yes, some people off stage going, "Come near and take this oracle." Good question.
Behold, an oracle flies out from her shrine, which both the king and state shall see before we dare unfold it.
Ritual over, they exit. Act 2, Scene 7. Brennus ghost. Nennius in night robes.
Follow me.
Follow? What means that word? Who art? Thy will?
Follow me, Nennius.
He names me. Sure, it is some friend which speaks. I'll follow thee, though it be through Stygian lakes.
'Tis ancient Brennus calls, whose victories Europe and Asia felt and still record. Dear Nennius, now's the time to steel thy courage. Canst thou behold thy mother captive, then look back upon thy ancestors, enrolled among the worthies who spread wide her fame. First, let thy eyeballs pour out poisoned beams, and kill them with disdain who dare but lift their hand against her. No consul must boast of her thraldom and outbrave our walls. I wonder that such impudent owls should gaze against the splendor of our Britain cliffs. Play thou, O second Brennus. Let thy lance like an Herculean club 2 monsters tame, Rome's avarice and pride. So come life or death. Let honor have the incense of thy breath.
Exit the ghost.
Farewell, heroic soul. Thou shalt not blush at Nennius's deeds. The smallest drop of fame is cheap if death and dangers may it buy. Yet give thy words new vigour to my spirits, and spur the Pegasus of my mounting thoughts. I'll follow thee o'er piles of slaughtered foes, and knock at Pluto's gate. I come, life or death. Honour to thee I consecrate my breath.
And exit Nennius. We shift to Caesar and Camillus ghost following.
Julius, stay here. Thy friend Camillus speaks.
O thou preserver of our present race, our city's second founder, what dire fate troubles thy rest that thou shouldst trouble mine?
Only to bid thee fight.
Thou shalt not need.
And bid thee take a full revenge on this nation, which did sack and burn down Rome, quenching the coals with blood, and kicked our ashes, trampling upon the ruins of our state, then led the Gauls in triumph thorough Greece to fix their tents beside Euxinus Gulf.
Is this that northern rout, the scourge of kingdoms, whose names till now unknown we judged Gauls? Their tongue and manners not unlike.
Gauls were indeed the bulk, but Brennus led, then brother to the British king, those armies, backed with great troops of warlike islanders. To thee belongs to render bad for ill. Oh, be my spirit doubled in thy breast with all the courage of 3 Scipios, Marius and Sylla, that this nation, fierce in feats of war, be forced to bear our yoke.
Exit ghost.
Ooh.
So mayest thou sweetly rest, as I shall strive to trace your steps, nor let me live if I thence disappointed ever seem to fly.
Exit Caesar. Act 2, Scene 8, Chorus. And Rachael, I'll ask you to take up the first song, please.
Ancient bards have sung with lips dropping honey and a sugared tongue of our worthy knights, how brute did giants tame, and by Isis' current a second Troy did frame, a centre of delights. Lo, Cridous' eldest son did drown the furious Hun, but burned himself with Elstred's love. Lyle Rex Pacificus elude judicious. Now heavenly bodies roll above, wise-bladdered, founded hath both soul and body's bath. Like Icarus he flew, now first Momutius wears a golden crown, whose heirs more than half the world subdue.
And Liza, take up the second song, please.
Thou nurse of champions, O thou spring whence chivalry did flow, thou diamond of the world's great ring, thy glorious virtues show. Thou many a lord hast bred, in catalogue of fame read, and still we have as captives brave as ever Britons led. Then dub-a-dub-a-dub-a-dub. The armies join. Dun-da-ra! Cassibelanus with armor gay and strongly couched lance, his courser white turned into bay on carcasses shall prance. What a crimson stream the blade of Nennius' sword hath made! Black Alia's day and Canae's fray have for a third long stayed. Then dubba 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 dubba, the armies join Tantara.
Yes. I mean, when I wasn't sure how you were going to get through that, because when I was looking ahead, just going dubba dub, dubba dub dub.
It's drums, okay? It represents drums.
I know, but yeah. I killed them with disdain. So I mean, there's some. It's trying to do some really interesting things. They're trying to do this sort of ritual. They're trying to do something that that presumably works there. They have ghosts. The ghosts from earlier turn up and talk to various leaders. And we have this description of the forces. Belenus basically saying we've got all these people. And the Scots are sending people who will gnaw and suck their enemies' bones, and these descriptions. So we're building up to this fight. They're really playing with it. Sorry, Liza.
Oh, to be fair, the bone marrow of your enemies is pretty delicious. It's a shame to waste any. Sorry, Rob, that was a totally frivolous interruption, which I should not have made.
No, that's cool. And yeah, there's an awful lot of learning in this. They do go through most of the line of Brutus in passing in the songs. We've got obviously Roman heroes being named and various other. It's doing an awful lot of stuff, and it's trying to build anticipation for the fight that's to come in presumably the next act. So yeah, any thoughts from the room before we do the final few scenes of this session? Rachael.
Are the Freemasons? When this was written, does this exist? Was this popular in the UK? Oh,
no, it's still.
I was just gonna ask if the.
Yeah.
No,
I think secret societies are very much an 18th century thing, but I could be wrong. I mean, only the Masons themselves know, and they're like, ooh, we go back to ancient Egypt. No, you don't. Anyways.
Yeah. Secret societies tend to get you really killed. It gets you in trouble because secret societies are never secret. That's the fundamental problem with them. Anyway, any other thoughts? Are play related? I'll go to Eric, then I'll come back to Rachael.
I have to say that I did enjoy the line about killing them with disdain with poison beams from your eyes. I was like, yes, this is totally X-Men.
Well, he's a ghost, so technically he could do that sort of stuff. I'll go to Stephen before I go to Rachael.
It's Britain's Assemble, isn't it? As opposed to some of the other plays we've read, which basically treat the nation as the personal property of whichever king or prince or son of the king it focuses on. So it's quite an interesting sort of shift of perspective, I think. The idea is that there's, that the nation, if it is a nation, is a coalition of all these kind of independent things all coming together voluntarily, as opposed to being the plaything of somebody to be part of a royal inheritance.
Yeah, and that's stated by Cassibelanus from very early on. He's just go, well, I'm technically in charge, but we're all cool here, guys. You're going to get some great stuff out of this this situation. Rachael.
what is the kingdom? What was in the chat? What is the kingdoms uniting? And that, what is that?
Well, Sorry, the country at this point is a series of different tribal areas. It's not a united country, if ever it has been.
It's not even called England yet, because the Anglish who come over from Angleland call it to near where Angela lives. In fact, don't you live near Anglia? Don't the Angles land in Essex quite a bit?
I live in London.
Yeah, I'm based in East Anglia.
It's not me.
Yeah, but we have all the angles.
Yeah, exactly. You got all the angles. I'm the leftover Romans.
Wrong dance. If you ever need someone to come and be wrong on your early modern literature podcast, please call me.
Anyway, we must move on because we got to get into a bit of Act 3 before we
But
stop.
the Angles do name it England. It's not England yet. It's Britain.
Yes.
The Angles and the Saxons, but they didn't want to be called Sax because it's no Sax, we're British.
Ooh. Well, I mean, arguably they're not even called Britons yet, but that's an entirely separate issue as well. Anyway, Act 3, Scene 1, Noise of Ships Landing. Okay, that's a sound designer's. That's one to send out to the. Okay, sounds of ships landing. That's recognisable. And the battle within: Caesar, Volusene, Laberius, Atreus, ensign, drums, and flags.
Landing cost us dearly. Many lives between the ships and shore being sacrificed. Our men with heavy armour, clogged and ignorant of all the flats and shallows, were compelled to wade and fight like Tritons, half above, half under water. Now we surer tread, though much diminished by so many lost. Come on, come on!
They march on and go out, and the Britons, I'm not going to read out all the Britons, Cassibelanus and lots of other people, enter, there's a drum, there's marching, there's ensigns.
So let them land. No matter which they choose, fishes or crows to be executors, they'll find the land as dangerous as the sea. The nature of our soil won't bear a Roman, as Irish earth doth poison poisonous beasts. On then, charge close before they gather head.
Brother, advance. On this side I'll lead up the new-come succours of the Scots and Picts.
They march and go out. Caesar, etc., re-enters.
Still fresh supplies come thronging from their dens. A nest of hornets is awake. I think here's nature's shop. Here men are made, not born, nor stay 9 tedious months, but in a trice sprout up like mushrooms at war's thunderclap. I must wake out a way.
And exit Caesar. Enter Rollano, armed Capipi.
Since I must fight, I am prepared to fight, and much inflamed with noise of trump and drum. Methinks I'm turned lion, and durst meet 10 Caesars. Where are all these covetous rogues who spoil the rich for gain and kill the poor for glory, bloodsuckers and public robbers?
Laberius enters Rollano, retires afraid, but being gone out, goes forward.
Nay, stay, and brag Rollano did thee kill. Stay, let me flesh my sword and wear thy spoils.
Laberius re-enters with an ensign.
Come, will you forsake your ensign and fall off? I call to witness all the gods, I here perform my duty. Thou canst not escape.
Rollano would fly, fights, falls as wounded.
Now die or yield thyself.
Oh, I yield. Oh, save my life, I yield. I'm no Briton. But by chance, come hither. I'll never more lift weapon in their quarrel.
How may I trust your faith?
Command me anything.
Lay down your neck.
Treads on it.
Give up your sword.
Beats him with it.
Ah!
Base coward, live. Such foes will ne'er do hurt.
And exit. Enter Linus, Androgeus, Linus, with bloody swords.
Rollano, what at stand? Pursue the chase.
I made their strongest captain fly. This hand, yes, this martial hand, I say, did make him fly.
Some silly scout.
He was a match for Cyclops. At each step, the ground danced and his nostrils blew the dust, armed as the god of battle pictured his.
What were his looks?
His brows were like a stormy winter night, when Juno scolding and Mars malcontent disturbed the air. At each look lightning flies, Jove against the giants needed but his eyes.
How eloquent is fear!
So came he stalking with a beam-like spear. I gave the onset, then received his charge, and next blow cleft his morion, so he flies.
Bravely done. Well, here comes a straggling soldier.
Enter Laberius.
'Tis he. Ah, I care not for vainglory. It's sweeter live than dead to be a story.
Runs away.
Oh, valiant coward, stay! There's not a spark of Britain spirit doth enlive thy corpse.
And exeunt. Act 3, Scene 2. Nennius pursuing.
Fight, Britons, fight! The day is ours. I'm cloyed with glutted e'en with slaughter. There's some fly and flying die, and dying mangled lie. I twice broke through the ranks, yet cannot find that venturous captain Caesar, on whose breast I long to try my blade, and prick that bladder puffed with ambition and victorious fight.
Caesar enters.
We may confess they come of Trojan kind. 100 valiant Hectors here we find.
Fairly encountered. Let our blades discuss who hath the justest cause, and on this combat may victory her equal balance hang.
Now seems the worthy prince, and Caesar's match.
And they fight, and wounds Nennius in the head, who staggers, fights and recovers Caesar's sword fallen, and puts Caesar to flight.
Stay! Thou art at home. Here's Campus Martius, the Britons sought for. See thy frighted back. Return and take possession of our isle, and by thy death be styled Britannicus. Leave not thy blade unsheathed. A tyrant's heart to his own sword a scabbard should impart. Yea, senators and gaily gowned quirites, open the Capitol's ivory gates, and lead fat bulls and garlands green and gilded horns. Let supplications last for twice 10 days. Caesar returns a victor. Prepare the laureate coach and snow-white steeds, embroidered canopy and scarlet gowns. Let altars smoke and thralls expect our spoils. Caesar returns in triumph, basely flies, and leaves his conquest in weak infancy. For had he won this coast, yet many blows must pass ere he could pass the Thames. And then, ere he touch Humber, many nations must be tamed. And then, before he Tweed can drink, and climb the craggy rocks of Caledon, a life is spent, yea, many 1,000 lives. Ah, my wound rages, and tormented brain doth labour of a fury. Not a palace. This blade was steeped in poison. Ah, I'm poisoned. Well dost thou fly, or I had made thee taste thine own provision. Now my wrath and pain with double force shall flow in purple streams. The 3 infernal ladies with wire whips and speckled snakes shall lackey close my steps, while that I offer hecatombs of men. The Latian shepherd's brood shall ban those stars, whose glimmering sparks led their audacious pines to lie so far from home in foreign soil, when cedars fall whose whole woods are crushed, nor die can Nennius private without company.
Enter Laberius.
Thou runst upon thy death.
A Roman never daunted was with looks, else had not Samartain and Libyan bugbears been captive led in chains.
But our looks kill.
They fight, and Laberius falls.
Die, slave! By Caesar's sword. Thou art his friend. Die as the ransom of his greater ghost, and learn, as well as I, how venom smarts. Be thou my post to the Tartarian prince, and tell him Nennius comes. But first I'll send more of you headlong home, a nearer way than by the cloudy Alps.
Exit. A retreat is sounded. Act 3, Scene 3. We have Cassibelanus, Belinus, and a substitute Lantonus.
Now what are Arum's dying faint and notes? Tempestuous night is gone. Victorious joy is when pale Eos cleaves the eastern fogs, and blushing more and more opes half her eye, with holy water sprinkling all the meads, whose clear reflex serves as her morning glass, doth paint with gaudy plumes the checkered sky. The only name of victory sounds sweeter than all mellifluous rhetoric.
Thanks to Andates, whose power kingdoms feel, Andates, greatest goddess, in whose train fear, red-faced anger, and confusion's wheel, murder and desolation run before. But joyful shouts, mirth, olive-budding peace, and laurel-crowned triumph at her back do pace with stately steps. Thy temple is the earth, where furious monarchs play the priests. Armies of men imbrue thy altar stones. Thanks also to the trident shakers, mace drawn by two rampant seahorses, at whose beck the waters wrinkled frown or smoothly smile. But thou, heaven's diamond, fair Phoebus' sister, nor Delian dames nor the Ephesian powers shall blazon more thy praise. Thy influence strong struck up the sandy ooze that madding waves battered their ships and dashed their bended sails, and with a tempest turned them round in scorn.
But where's the answer which our idol gave? Can you expound the sense?
Dread sovereign, thus runs the oracle. Loud doth the king of beasts roar, high doth the queen of birds soar. But her wings clipped soon grow out, both repent, they are so stout, till sea against sea strike around, in a perfect circle bound. The meaning, wrapped up in cross-doubtful terms, lies yet thus open. That disastrous fate must be the prologue to a joyful close. The rest we'll search out if our skill don't fail.
Renowned Cassibelanus, might my counsel speak?
I know thy loyal heart and prudent head, upon whose hairs time's child experience hangs, a milk-white badge of wisdom, and canst wield thy tongue in senate and thy hands in field. Speak free, Belinus.
We forfeit fame and smother victory by idle lingering. The foe discomfited must needs be much amazed. His ships dismembered do piecemeal float upon the waves. The horse, whose succour he expects, are beaten back by friendly winds. His camp contracted is. A tithe of soldiers left, the rest all slain. His chief munitions spent or lost. Provision, an army's soul, but what we give he wants. What then shall hinder to destroy their name? So none again shall venture, but our isle, rounded with Nennius girdle, may enjoy eternal peace.
I like thy warning. With united stroke of all our nations will his camp beleaguer, devouring ships and men. But one mischance, my brother's wound, his mortal wound, I fear, turns all to wormwood. Why were ye dumb, ye idols? No sainted statue did foretell this grief. Come, let's visit him. You may, Lord General, set Comius free. We love not to insult, but to render good for ill.
Act 3, Scene 4, Caesar and Volusene.
Heaven, sea and wind and all the elements conspire to work us harm. Our ships in Gaul, windbound, at length put forth, come in view, are tossed and torn. Our navy on the shore with civil discord break each other's planks. The airy rulers are displeased. All day noises and nimble flashes mixed with rain amaze our soldiers. To make grief full, my daughter's death I hear. When, powerful fortune, will thy anger cease? Never till now did Caesar fortune fear. Mount Palatine, thou throne of Jove, and ye whose lesser turrets pinnacle Rome's head, are all your deities fled? Or was I bold to outgo nature and our empire stretched beyond her limits? Pardon then my fault. Or do we basely faint? Or is our might answered with like, since Troy against Troy doth fight? What can I write now? I came over and I overcame. Such foes deny such haste.
The islanders consult and sure intend some sudden stratagem. And now the scales poise equal day and night, when rougher seas and stormy Pleiads may our passage stop.
Yes, to ship, compelled to leave this land, but to return, if gods do not withstand.
Exit Caesar, etc. Act 3, Scene 5. Cassibelanus, Belinus, Lantonus, Nennius in a chair.
We won the day, and all our foes are fled.
Yes, noble Nennius, scattered on the shore, thick lay the Latins. The glutted stream spews up her dead, whom death hath taught to swim, though ignorant alive. Their flowing blood made a new red sea. Those few we lost, sweetly reposed upon their mother's breast, and wounded all before, kept in their face a warlike frown.
Where is false Caesar's sword, called Crocaea Mors, which never hurt but killed? Let it be placed within my tomb.
Here is the fatal blade.
Death, like a Parthenian, flies, and flying kills. In midst of conquest came my deadly wound, accursed weapon, more accursed man, who serpent-like in poison bathes his sting. Tiber doth breed as venomous beasts as Nile. We scorn such cruel craft. But death draws near. A giddy horror seizeth on my brain. Dear brother, and thou, holy priest of heaven, witness my words. I leave my country free and die a victor. Thus with lighter wing my purified soul mounts to her first best cause. I long even to behold those glorious cloisters, where Brutus, great Don Wallo, and his sons, thrice noble spirits walk. Thou mighty engineer of this wondrous globe, protect this isle, confound all foreign plots, grant Thames and Tiber never join their channels, but may a natural hate derived from us live still in our long-trailed progeny. My eyes do swim in death. Before this land shall wear the Roman yoke, let first the adamantine axle crack, which binds the ball terrestrial to her poles, and dash the empty air. Let planets drop their scalding jelly, and all flame being spent, entomb the world in everlasting smoke. Come faster, death. I can behold thy grim and ugly jaws with quiet mind. Now, I hear sweet music, and my spirit flies.
He dies.
His breath is gone, who was his country's prop and my right hand. Now only doth he crave to see him laid with honour in the grave.
And they exit, and then we run out of text. Oh, Julius Caesar, him and his poisony sword. I mean, what a git. You have a proper fight. You get a minor wound. You fight Julius, because we all remember Julius Caesar losing in the fight and running away, like the coward that he is. And then the brave Nennius who kills somebody else even though he's dying. All of these things, as we know, is a well-established history that we can all talk about and know. I don't know where the hell any of this came from. This is so weird. Does anyone else know of sources that does any of this stuff? It just seems to be let's make Caesar into this very different kind of person.
What does Camden say? When Camden's come out, just sort of like about 10 years before this, isn't it? Has he got loads of myths and of that Brutus and all the rest of it?
I don't know. I know all the stuff about Brutus and the stuff that goes before this. I don't know what whether any of this is in Geoffrey of Monmouth or any of the sorts of stuff like that. I haven't got that far because we've done earlier history and we've done later history. We really haven't done any of the Roman stuff yet.
Well, I must apologise as an actual professional historian for not knowing. Sorry.
No, I don't.
Well, to be fair, this is not your field precisely.
Oh, except, I mean, generally, one ought to know about, sort of like Monmouth. Certainly Camden, who's just come out. Anyway, you made me realise I need to go and read something.
Yeah, well, Stephen, do you have thoughts?
My only thought is, what the hell happens now? We've just had a play, haven't we? I mean, it's called so quite neatly, all wrapped up. We've had the kind of rousing speech at the end about, never giving in to Rome again, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. We're only halfway through. We're going to get a completely different play. What is it?
Well, I believe Caesar still has to win.
Yes.
So this
is the half time.
Fairly clear on that one, aren't we?
We're moving forward a year, is my thought.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
To the second invasion of sorts that he managed.
He's got boat problems, so he's going to slink off the poisoning fiend that he is and come back later.
There's an interval. Come on, we got up there scream.
Well, we had spoilers for next time, but we do have the funeral of Nennius to come. So there is still more Nennius business. Remember, we're midway through Act 3, so Act 3 as a unit seems to be very Nennius heavy. It's very very on his the greatness of Nennius. And then we have this sort of cowardly moment with where the slightly comic characters that vaguely got set up earlier but have largely been forgotten about sort of do some stuff.
I liked him. Well done, Angela, for a fab performance of that. I mean,
yeah, he's going to meet his ancestors. Nennius. Yeah. I liked that of meeting Brute, etc. And Great Dunwallow, who we've met. We've met in other plays. Angela, muted at the moment, so I don't know what you're saying.
No, I was mumbling. That's why I'm muted, because I'm not saying anything useful. But I'd never heard of Dunwallow. That name has never come up before for me.
Is there a lost play about Mulmutius Dunwallow? That name is stuck in my head somewhere.
There might be, yes. That does ring a bell.
From the 90s.
Yeah. The names popped up. in the other early Brute plays. We have met Brutus at the very beginning of Locrine. That's when he dies, and we've met Locrine and various other. So we've met a lot of these people. So in other plays. Eric.
Well, this bit, like the whole, fights, like the, battle scene basically reminds me of the Battle of Alcazar. But there's a part of me going, because obviously a lot of the names are historical, aside from, the random ones that are not. Would we treat this as a history play, or would we treat it as, sort of, obviously not entirely history play type thing?
I think it's as close to history as many other history plays. I mean, they often take history with something of a pinch of salt. Yeah, I think it's absolutely. And Alcazar's a good point, because Nennius also comes in a chair. Admittedly, they don't prop his corpse up to scare the locals. Yeah, there are similarities with a lot of history plays with that sort of running on and off stuff. Because we've got several basically march in, march off, march in and march off, flying battle stuff. Any more? We've gone over time because we had a lot of text to pack in. Anyone want to throw in any final thought before I close the session and we all go off to beddy pies?
I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
We have a little less text tomorrow to pack in, so a bit more room for manoeuvre. Any more? Eric? You just...
I don't know. I'm just considering the sort of Nennius' death speech, which is actually quite beautifully written, but it's also kind of death like a Parthian flies. Parthians were actually quite like, hardy, not retreating warriors. So I'm guessing that's the whole point, right? Yeah. I don't know. It's just a really well written one compared to, very sort of, my eyes do swim in death, which is still very sort of, I don't know, what do you call it?
Purple.
Yeah, and sort of, I don't know, it's like B-movie horror kind of level.
Yeah, there's a lot here that I'm really enjoying, but it's a bit much. I mean, it's just so much. It's not even that it's excessively long. It's just so much. There's more muchness coming next time when we return to the True Trojans. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Kill them with disdain.